So, what mistakes did I make when buying this house? Yeah, well, there's a lot of them. This was my first time buying a house, so it was a little bit daunting. I thought I had done all the research. You can go online and you can get some great tutorials, great help with buying your first home. However, each transaction, each person's life is a little bit different. So there will be some unique problems you run across depending on your situation. So let's take me, for example. My situation was a little bit strange. I was in China working as an English teacher, a very common job for a lot of people who wish to travel. Best time of my life. I met my wife. I enjoyed my life better than anybody can ever imagine. It was fantastic. It made me who I am today. If it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be here now. However, I did notice the job was a little bit restrictive. I was making a great salary, much better than now. I was making great money, but I felt like I wasn't going anywhere. So what I did was I worked 80-hour weeks on good pay because I knew I was in a situation which might not last forever and I should definitely capitalize on the situation. I worked 80-hour weeks, and what I did was I saved every penny I could and put it down as a deposit. It wasn't just a deposit. I also had the great idea to renovate the house. I was going to buy a fixer-upper, and I was going to do all the cosmetic stuff, and it was going to be worth so much more money. The idea being is that I've seen all the YouTube videos, and I went ahead and did it, effectively. I went ahead, bought the house with the idea of doing it up, and making some money. However, it is not as simple as those videos make out. Not at all. So, what issues did I run into when buying a house? So, let's think about it. Number one, I was in China. I was not in the UK, and it is very difficult to get a mortgage when you are not in the country. They are very, very strict on the kind of salaries you should have, and that it be in the UK, and they run through your bank statements with a fine-tooth comb going I was in China. It was difficult. I was also in a situation where all that extra good money I was making wasn't technically part of just my salary. It was me maximizing my opportunities there. Because of that, the bank statements didn't show that I was on £4,000 or £5,000 a month. They showed me I was on 1.5, 2. So because of that, they were a little bit otherwise on whether or not I should be allowed to have it. They did go with me though eventually when I found a guarantor, which was my sister who was in the UK. Now, she can't afford the mortgage on the house. In terms of her monthly bills. However, she did have the UK salary. So this was a windfall for me. Most people I know will not be in the situation where you can rely on a family member in order to help you get past the initial stage. This was great. We could both be named on the mortgage. I went ahead with it. I put down a very big deposit, which probably I shouldn't have done. I put down 75%. No. I put down 25%. I put down 25% initially. When I put down the 25%, I thought, yeah, good, lower the bills and everything. Well, yeah, that's a lot of money. A lot of money that could be spent elsewhere when I was doing the renovations, which also cost me a lot of money. Way more than I was planning to spend. So, after that, what happened? So I went ahead. It took maybe 3 months because I was in China. I had to ship all the paperwork back. I had to get everything I did in China translated for the UK banks in order to get through that particular part of getting the mortgage. Once that was done, I felt happy I had the house. Hooray! Now, you can have the house like that. And I was maybe a little bit too quick to buy this house. The area is good. The size is good. It's 3 bedrooms, decent bit of land. You got a huge garden, huge front garden too. You've got 2 gardens effectively and a fair plot of land. However, what I didn't really account for was some of the foundational stuff of the house. So stuff like the boiler. Your boiler will cost you a lot of money if you don't think it through. The main way boilers cost us money is if they are broken, if they are too old and past their warranty, and I didn't check anything. So, well, I wasn't in the country to check it, but my family who were looking at the house for me didn't check it, and I didn't pay for the inspections, which you should always do. The inspections will save you a lot of money. I ended up having to pay out a few grand for that. However, because I was paying out a few grand for that, I decided to move it up into the loft, which kind of gets it out of the way a little bit. I can have the pressure gauge in another room downstairs, and the main boiler, which we're not going to touch very often, is up in the loft, not going to be heard, out of sight, out of mind, which I'm okay with. I think it saves the extra space, especially if your house is not too big. So, the boiler in the loft, good. Next up, we have, what else cost me a lot of money? Electrics. You don't think it through. You think, oh, I've got some plug sockets here and there. That's enough. Well, if you want to add one little plug socket, every electrician will go through and tell you need a full rewire. If the house is old, my house, 1950s, 1960s, it's kind of old, and the wiring had never been redone. So it was time to get some new wires. That's going to cost you a lot of money. And if you're making big holes in the wall, guess what you need to do next? Yep, exactly what I had to do. Plaster. Yeah, you have to go get a plasterer. And now, if you're particularly handy, maybe you can do some of these things yourself. However, the things that I had to do, let's say plumbing with the boiler, electrics, and plastering, these are all skills that are not particularly easy to pick up. You know, if it needs repainting, you can slap some paint on the wall. You probably can't rewire a house. Not by yourself, not without some training. You also need to get a certificate to say that you've had the rewire and that it's up to the modern safety standards. So that was something else that I had to do. All these things cost me thousands and thousands of pounds, and I hadn't even got into the cosmetics of redoing it. I knew from the beginning that I planned to redo the kitchen and redo the 2 bathrooms, because if you watch any of the YouTubers, if you read any of the articles, or even talk to an estate agent, they will all tell you bathroom and kitchen are the 2 kind of like centerpieces of the house. If they look nice and go, ooh, pretty, then everything else, people think they can change their own style, but they don't want to have to redo a kitchen. They don't want to have to redo a bathroom. So that is investing in the house. All right, in terms of the cabinets, and mostly for the bathrooms, they were okay. I kept the price of the kitchen right down, and I'm super happy with it. It looks very pretty. The appliances cost me a fair bit. However, I am planning to live here myself for several years. I don't mind paying a little bit for the appliances. I did, in particular though, focus on one thing, which was energy efficiency. I did not want to be paying out higher for my electricity. I wanted to keep my monthly bills down, because my thought process was I was making good money then. In the UK, my salary might drop a bit, and if it drops, I don't want to be in the process of spending lots and lots of money monthly on things that I can't get out of. You can't get out of your bills. You can pay a little bit more up front and get out of, paying more monthly for your electricity. Yeah, so I made sure I really did make sure everything was energy as efficient as possible. I did want to keep the bills down, and luckily, that has helped me as, the cost of living crisis in the UK has hit. And while I'm not protected, I'm more protected than I would be if I didn't think that through. Bathrooms. There was one problem that I did run into when I did the bathrooms, which was the cost of the tiling. Now, I have a wife. I know I'm young, but I have a wife. And because of that, the cosmetics of the house need to go through two brains. If it just went through my brain, I would go for the cheapest that looks nice, and it would not take me long at all to decide what it was. Because we did it together, I had to please her as well as myself. I was thinking financially, she was thinking cosmetically. I also don't really know what looks good. Clearly, I don't know what looks good. She does. But that did come at a bit of a cost. The cost of the tiles in the upstairs bathroom were way higher than I would do again, especially since it does look lovely in there. It looks fantastic, but I probably won't pay that kind of money again. I would lower the cost to things like tiles. I would lower the cost of the flooring. I would lower the cost of things that don't matter so much. You think they matter, but really, how many times are you going to look at the walls of your bathroom? Not that often, really, are you? Let's be honest, unless you're a bit weird. So these kind of things you need to look out for. You need to make sure that you keep your costs down and don't do what I did, which I probably went over budget by several thousand on things like that. Other mistakes that I made, I probably was not... Maybe it's because I wasn't here. I was getting friends and family to help me with this while I was out of the country. I wasn't very good with the tradesmen. Tradesmen are difficult in some way. They always try to find something, and you can imagine why. It's how they make money. They always try to find something that costs more than what you want to pay. The electrician did this. I wanted more sockets. He went for a full rewire. The plasterer, he wanted extra cash for several holes that he filled in. The installer of the bathrooms and the kitchens, he always found other things to do. Little things like, oh, your manhole cover is broken. The concrete's going around it. I'll set the concrete for you. That'll be another 80 quid. Cheers. Oh. Also, sometimes their quality differs. Now, you can look at their past work. You can look at what other people say. It's almost better if you know them personally, because the reviews can be faked. The pictures are pictures. The quality of some of the work, all those that I mentioned before were great. The quality of some of the work was suspect, highly suspect. And if you don't keep on top of that, it will definitely come back to haunt you in the future. So, what you must look out for then, going over budget by things that need doing in the house: damp proofing, electrics, plastering, plumbing. These things cost a lot of money and they're not sexy. Nobody's going to buy your house if you say, look, I just got the electrics done and it looks like a hovel. Nobody cares. But these things you really need to look out for because they cost a lot of money. They're very important. And they need doing. So look at that when you buy the house. Other things, don't go overboard on the more expensive tiles. A lot of that showing off stuff is not worth the cost. Not worth it at all. My tiles in here were cheap B&Q tiles, and they are some of the nicest tiles that I have in the house. The more expensive ones, not as nice as these. And these were cheap. What else? Yeah, energy efficiency, look at insulation as well, especially if you're redoing things like the walls. Make sure the plasterer or whoever it is putting as much insulation down as possible, because it will save you a hell of a lot of money in the future. Tradesmen. Watch out for tradesmen. Try to go on word of mouth from people you know and trust. There is no real regulations in this world, and that makes it harder to really trust it. If you go to a university or get a lawyer, you know that the professor and the lawyer have qualifications. You know that. That's obvious. Nothing like that in the trades world. It's best off going for people you know and that you trust via word of mouth. Now, what would I change next time? What would I change next time? I will not spend so much money on silly things like the cost of tiles, prettier door handles, stuff like that. No. I'll keep that right down. I will change them, but I will get the cheapest that I could. Those kind of things really don't matter. No, they really don't. I would really look into the tradesmen and try to find people I know locally. If you do not know them, then you cannot judge their work properly. Other things that I would change is I would get every inspection on all the important things. Plumbing, electrics, damp, roof. I'm blanking. Plumbing, electric, roof. Oh, subfloor, maybe? But yeah, make sure you get all these things looked at, and plastering too. Make sure you get the walls looked at. Damp will kill you. Pipes will kill you. Electrics will kill you. It'll cost you thousands to change it, and it will add no value to your house. Would I do it again? Maybe. I'm starting to think maybe a new build next time. However, I did get my house valued and I have made a tidy profit. So it can be done. Just be careful. Do your research. However, don't do so much research that it's paralysis through analysis and you miss opportunities. You still need to realize when you have an opportunity to get on the housing ladder or to create something that is a great investment for you and your family going forward. Peace out.